go to the next one. Chill says, "Hi, A, my name is William, and I'm a recent college graduate searching for a job as a 3D character artist in the video game industry. I would appreciate your feedback on my portfolio so far and your advice on the types of projects I should be working on next. I've been thinking about trying to create more work that targets specific studios. Thank you so much. Your content is a big inspiration." You're welcome, my friend. Take a look at Chill William. He is from Lynchburg, VA. What's VA? Not Vancouver. It's the US. Okay. Interesting. So this is very interesting. I think it's like one of the first times I've encountered a portfolio like this, where we go from a very cool character. Like, I love this character. You did a great job, very stylized. Reminds me a lot of like this game. It's kind of like Overwatch, a little bit like Fortnite, right? It's relatively simple in terms of the shapes, very like organic, soft shapes. But you did a great job on the colors. Love the colors, like the albedo and everything looks very nice. The optimization, like this is a perfectly fine character. Yeah, that super vibe style reference. Okay, yeah, I think you definitely nailed it. We could have added a little bit more complexity on some of the assets. For instance, you can see the tears here, how they're pushing out a little bit more on her pants, and ours are very sort of like soft, so we can definitely like push them a little bit more. Same for this one. Like, now that I see the concept, I definitely feel like some proportions are a little bit off. You're missing a tattoo on this arm. There's a little bit more damage here on the texture on this one right here, for instance. There's a little bit more variation on the hair that could be added. What else? Proportions again are off, so see how big the cowl is compared to what we have right here, the size of that little guy right there. So you got to be careful with that, because if I'm the client and I give you this concept and you deliver this to me, I'm not gonna be super happy. Right? I'm not gonna be like super happy, because there's a lot of things that I feel like are missing from the character, especially on the texturing side of things, but also on the silhouette. Like here, let's take this image. And this is again one of the things that I tell you guys. Whenever you're watching a concept or looking at a concept, studying a concept, look at the shapes, at the silhouettes. I have a video about this called the 5 layers of information. Look at how wide her hips are right here and how thin they get towards the knees, and then look at what we have right here. Right? Those two shapes do not match. Let's take a look at another shape. If we take a look at her waist, for instance, it's going to be, as you can see, a very sort of like feminine, hourglass looking waist. And then we take a look at ours, and it's a lot straighter, right? A lot straighter. We can stylize this heavily. You've seen Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals can definitely like push things like very heavily. So this is the kind of stuff that we need to be very mindful of. Look at the forearm. The forearm is a very big forearm right there. We can make it bigger right there as well. So all of those things are things that are going to be important for the process. Look at the lower leg right here, how we go from the muscles to the bone. So right now this looks very flat. We need to push this out and give it a little bit more stylization. I understand that there's always going to be changes from 2D to 3D, but this is the kind of stuff that we cannot miss. And again, because you show me this, which is the reference that you're using, I can definitely see a little bit more variation. So for instance, here on the quiver, we can see that we have some interesting highlights right there. Add them. Add the interesting highlights on the texture of the element, right? Like, we can definitely just add that information there to really make it look a little bit more interesting and closer to the concept. You remember, guys, this is very important. As a freelancer, as someone at the studio, you are expected to follow instructions. And I'm not saying you need to be like a slave and just like look down and obey everything. No. But if you give me something, this thing right here, I need to be as close as humanly possible to it. Again, if you don't do that, if you can't follow that, then it's going to be very difficult to have these opportunities, right? So be careful with that, because this is a really cool concept, by the way, but I do feel like we lost a lot of the personality of the character from this thing right here to this thing right here, okay? Now, this one right here, 6 challenge, it's great. Yeah, it's okay. Definitely a little bit more contrast and more shading needed for some of the stuff. If you want to pursue the hand-painted stuff, again, I have the hand-painted course that can help you a little bit there on some of the basics of the process. And then we have these boxes right here, which are really good. They're really good. I think you're doing a great stuff with this one. And this is funny because, as I've mentioned before, you were doing this pieces as part of your portfolio. Now you're working as an intern in this like studio, and look at what they're making you do, which is perfectly fine, by the way. Like I have nothing against this. This is the kind of stuff that usually someone who's an intern or a junior artist will be doing. Simple elements to just like create, but you're doing great. Like these guys are great. Normally I would tell people don't include this in your portfolio, right? Because it's just a simple asset, but there's a very big difference between this simple asset of yours and some of the other simple assets that we've seen in portfolios. The difference is that this is a simple asset that was asked from you at the studio, right? So because this was asked from you at the studio, this has more value for a possible recruiter than if you just did this on your own. If you were doing this on your own, not because the studio asked you to do it, I would tell you add more stuff, add more props, add like, you know, some stickers, like make it a little bit more interesting, give me some storytelling, present it in a different way, include it in the scene. Like that would be the tip for something as simple as this box. But because this is a box that was asked as part of a project, this carries the value of I'm following directions, right? Like someone told me to do a box and I did the best freaking box that I could. So that again, it's very, very, very valuable. This one, keep them. My advice, try to do more characters if that's what you want to do or want to be a character artist with this level of care and with this level of attention to detail. Is it better to model holes in a cape like that or do it in the opacity map? It depends. Normally I would do it in opacity map, but the opacity maps can be a little bit expensive in terms of performance. Sometimes modeling tends to be another option.